everybody, welcome to my process video and card making for Craft Roulette 146, otherwise known as the return of Mary Gun Fun. And yeah, so let me walk you through the parameters. The first one is to use tags or dual tag, which could mean a lot of things. I'm going with like actual tags because I've been really enjoying these to work with. But you could also just draw tags. I picked these up too. These are white tags that are kind of a similar size. Anyway, these are actually 2.5 inches. So I basically want to take half an inch off each inner side so I can kind of nest them together to make a card panel essentially. Then one of the other parameters is on a shelf. So I'm going to use this. This is from the Lumberyard pattern paper pack, which I like because I love wood grains. Even though don't think I've used one in a while. And I'm going to use this to make a shelf to basically set my little cup on. And then I also pulled a bunch of Spellbinders Time Offline ephemera to do just sort of a cute little cluster of map and flashlight and wood and whatnot. Colors for this round are green +2, and I should say 2 greens +2. I don't know. Well, metallics, and this is a very dark, some kind of neutral. I think it's slightly blue, so we'll pretend I think it's blue, but anyway. So, these are actually 2 different greens if you look closely, but I'm going to use some of this gray pattern paper and then use another green to embellish it to sort of bring in some hearts, make it a little more love of the outside kind of feeling. So we definitely have dark blue and brown as kind of our other colors. Or I guess you could say gold, because Stay Wild is gold. It's basically brown and gold, which are technically neutrals, so you can either count them or not. But before I kind of want to cut down stuff so that I'm not stenciling over everything. And I'll just sort of move these guys up to the top. I'm really still loving the whole camping theme, as you probably noticed. So I'm going to stick with that for a while, I think, at least until the summer. So as you can see, basically I want these to be 2 inches, which is going to take off the middle side. I mean, really, you could take it off on either side, but I want to kind of get it to be the size of a panel. And these are a little more than 5 inches, so there'll be a little bit of gap. And the other thing I might do is see if I have another green, because it would be fun to try the technique of just using ink directly on the white card base to see if we can get that to work. So I guess the 2 options here are we can either take a 1/4 inch off each side, which will just make it a little more narrower of a tag. That would mean we'd want this to be 2 1/4. Let's try that. I think that'll provide a better overall look. So this would be 2 1/4. And then this will make it 2. I'm going to grab my little corner rounder. Let's just re-round these corners a little bit. There we go. A little rounded. I think that looks good. We could recut this angle, but I think it's fine. I'm going to repeat that by cutting to 2 1/4, and then cutting to 2 inches, because essentially that will give us 4 inches, and then we will re-round these. Don't need to. Whoop, there we go. We don't need this to be crazy or anything. We just want it to be, I don't know, fairly nice looking. So with those sides off, you basically can butt these up to each other. Whoa. And have a pretty cute looking card panel, I think. Don't want to extend beyond the cut, really. If you know what I mean, like I prefer to have it more like this. Yeah. And this looks a little interesting. I don't know, like rounding these off might have been not the best decision because you have sort of a rounded corner here and these aren't. And these would be hard corners to sort of round off because they're not square. But anywho, I think it'll be fine. And we have these extra pieces if we want to use them to do anything else. So, let me go grab a brand spanking new white card base because I did run out of cream ones. I probably still have Spellbinders ones floating around because it seems like they last quite a long time. So I'm just going to fold this down and then see how these look on here. I think this looks pretty good. Yeah, I think that's going to look nice. I think I'll definitely make the tags pretty close to the, yeah, I mean, I think that looks good. Now, I want to try, let me go and grab, I could use the deck of halls. I think this would be easier to try with a mini cube. Goodness knows I have enough Dazzler ruler inks to find a mini cube. Here we go. That's a green. That's a very light green. Sort of a sagey green. Oh, this would be nice. In the park. This is well, let's go with a natural green. This is sort of a natural yellow green. I'll kind of show you how this technique works. Now, rather than doing color cardstock, the idea is you just basically get your hands all covered in ink. That's good. So you then look for a towel to clean off the hands you've all covered in ink entirely. But, yeah. Side note, don't do that. But once you get your hands mostly clean, and I'm not super worried about the card front because, we're going to cover it up with the tags. So, what I'm going to do, what I've seen done, and I think artists and others have done this, they basically just wipe the ink pad along the surface. Pretty much until you get sort of a mass tone going on. Or whatever tone you want, I guess. Because at some point this gets to be sort of the saturated color. So if you have any really streaky parts, and in the middle here, it doesn't really matter because, yeah. I'm curious. Well, there's no bleed over, which is nice. It didn't bleed through, so that's pretty cool. And since we are kind of doing a natural thing, I'm not super hung up on, it looking completely smooth. But basically, a number of folks do this as opposed to buying color cardstock, because you can basically, you can just use the ink directly that way. And we're seem to be not green anymore, which is good. Anyway. But the idea is, like, that looks super janky, but, you know, once we sort of figure out how we would mat these. Yeah, it looks pretty good, and you have sort of this green, and then these greens are I mean, these are more tealish greens. So that's pretty good. I think I'm going to actually use liquid adhesive this time. I tend to really like tape runner for this, but I feel like we'll want like a little bit of play, and I don't know. These new fine adhesive bottles, unless I just jammed a tip again, which I might have done, do a really good job at putting down a very small amount of glue. Let's see if we can't. Grab a different tip here. The one thing I don't love about this particular style is it always seems like the tips tend to jam, but anywho. Some of that is on me too, because I don't always remember to like, you can essentially like burp these a little bit. But you want to use very little glue, and this is going to adhere pretty quickly, so just get one of these out of the way. I like doing this one more near the edge. Inset it, but then it's pretty close to the top edge, I think. Then we will put that down, and then do the same with this guy. You basically want to squeeze so only a thin bead of glue comes out. That way you don't worry about really going to pull that back a little bit. I want it to be on the card. So it's pretty quickly. We're a little off to the side, but I think it's going to be fine for our uses. Any areas where it sort of wants to lift up, this is pretty okay. This is the Line-Co pH neutral adhesive. So one of the nice things about it is that it binds really quickly. But then what I wanted to do, since we did another green here, I think we're good on our two greens, but the other thing I wanted to do was to sort of create a mat here. I don't think we need the stencil anymore, but just to sort of hide this line a little bit. So let's say take probably, I don't know, 2 inches by, this is going to be a little like, I don't know. Let's use a scrap to figure this out. So we kind of want it to be, I don't know, maybe 3.5 by whatever that is. So maybe 3.5 by 3, I think seems about right. Let's see how that. Let's do 3.5 and see how like that'll mat nicely, and then maybe 3. What does 3.5 by 4 look like? This is, that would cover the rivets, which I don't like as much. So how much would I want to take off? Try 3.5 by. Let's try 3.5 by 3.5 because that would be a square. Oh, that's pretty nice. I like that. Just sort of, you kind of have a shelf on this side, so maybe like, well, we could have this sort of off to the side too, like it wouldn't need to. Yeah, so I think we want to cut, I don't know, maybe 1/2 inch? Let's see how 1/2 inch looks. I feel like 1/2 inch is about, yeah, that looks pretty good. And then we'd probably just need like, I don't know. These are 2 inches. Well, 2 inches makes sense because then it could be the whole width of one of the tags. I feel like we could let it hang off to the edge of the card to sort of, I don't know. I like it when things kind of fall outside of the edges of the card. So I'm gonna see if we can't round one side of this. I don't really, I think the other side of this will just, that's not really around. Let's try that again. Well, that's kind of neat. That's sort of a, oh, you probably can't see what I'm doing. Sort of a neat, like, off-center-y. That looks very sort of wood to me. And then we could just sort of put it where we want, cut it at the end, put this here, and have this sort of off to the side. I like that. Anyway, so let's put the rest of this card together. Since we're, yeah, this is the, which tape runner? I'll put the pattern paper on with an AdTech glue runner just because I really like them. like that. Funny, someone was talking about worrying about how your nails look on camera. It's like, I don't know that it matters after you, like, decide to get them, like, some weird ink color. But, you know. See if we can't get any of that off. Sort of. Anyway. It's all part of the process, I suppose. But I've been a big fan of Tape Runner forever, but this Lenco adhesive kind of makes me question that allegiance, because this stuff is really fun. Anyway. And I love that it basically, like, it doesn't dry instantly. You can peel it up, but it's, I don't know, it seems to, I like this sort of off to the side. And I did that thing where the card is hooked up the wrong way. Oh well, before we complete this, I guess we'll just... I mean, the one nice thing is we can recut this panel to not be as lopsided. So, I mean, I'll take that as a positive in that I don't love the amount of white space we have going on. So, going to... Yeah, so now that's more symmetrical. Not because I wasn't paying attention and wrecked my card base, for totally other reasons. And we can really reuse that piece, so I mean, this isn't like that big of a deal either way. In that like this side is kind of screwed up with ink, but you know, if you use it this way, you can just use it as a panel. And then you have kind of a nice little white mat, which is actually pretty cool. Anyway, let's glue this guy on with our tape runner and finish the cards. It wouldn't really be one of my card videos if you didn't like screw up something epically for no reason. And I am going to grab my scoreboard quick. Not to score, but because I like it as a means to making sure that you're lining things up correctly on when you're trying to reattach a card panel to another card panel. Because if these are both pushed all the way up, they're going to remain aligned, which is basically what we want. Have a nice little matting effect there now, and let's deal with the rest of our ephemera. You sort of I want this sort of off. Sort of debating. I liked it about like that. Anyway. There we go. So there we go. Two different greens. Brown, multiple browns, multiple golds. This might be a blue. Anyway, we have some combination of 4 colors in neutrals going on. And I like how this came out. Very cute. Recommend not screwing up your card bases, but you know, I have hit or miss success with that myself. So anyway, that is Craft Roulette 146, and thanks for checking it out.